welcome back. The topic of today's discussion is going to be React developer tools. So these are basically some tools, or let's say a pre-built application that will be integrated with our browser, whether we use it with Code Sandbox or as basic medium. We are using Chrome browser. In this case, I am using it while having this tutorial. You can use any other browser as well, whether Firefox or something. So we'll be seeing what these React developer tools are and how we can use them in order to how to use them in our advantage and in order to debug our code much better rather than just going through that with a naked eye. So let's see what this is. So here we have a sandbox with us, the older one, the last one in the practice session that we built. Let's open this in another window. So you can see the folder structure is like this. Both of these files are already there, and on the components we have app.jsx, which is as of now our primary file apart from index.js, because we know we are not going to touch it. So in this we were fetching the data from this info.js, this info array inside info.js, and we were using these React props in these in order to populate the data of each card accordingly. So this is the code that we have with this. Now, if you see closely, these image avatars, as we call them, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. So these image avatars, all of these are something that you might be using several times throughout your website. All right. So like a circular image with a white border. So the first thing that I would like to do is create a template out of these images, right? These rounded images. So how do we do it? I want to extract this, whatever code we have for this round image, and convert it into another component, which we'll be using, which we'll be populating dynamically with the use of React props. So let's create another component here. We'll call it avatar or avatar. I don't know what is the correct Indian pronunciation. So in here, we'll first import our basic React like this, and we'll name our function. Always remember the Pascal casing, and in return we'll just cut this from here, and we'll try pasting it here. And in card, we learned that now we have to import this. Okay, let me export this avatar as well, like this. Export default avatar, and now heading over to card.js, I will import this from the path of here, and now I want to create a custom component like this. But you see, when I'm doing it like this, I am shown an error which says that props is not defined. And if you look closely, the reason for this is because in this avatar.jsx, it is picking up the source that our image has is actually not explicitly mentioned here. It is taking it from some props. So first of all, we haven't declared our props here. So even if we do, the problem that we'll face is that if you see in card.jsx, or let's say head over to app.jsx, so you'll see that the actual information, that the most raw information or the image URL that we are gaining it from here. If you see in the info array, we had an object and we were tapping into the image URL property of that object like this. And from from app.jsx, we mentioned this attribute under the img name, and we passed it back to our card component. And with the use of React props, our card component was able to tap into that image attribute via like when it was pasted here via this props.img, it was able to tap into this property which was being sent from app.jsx, and thus we were able to generate our image right here. But if we look at avatar.jsx, it's not the case, because we are one level further downwards in the tree that we have. So how can we resolve this issue? For this, we have to mention another prop that we have right here. So in this case, I think this is the correct time to introduce you to React developer tools. So if you head over to this right side pane of ours, and this last option that we have, if you click over this, you'll be able to see that we have a tree constructed out of the components, or basically a component tree of whatever components we have used in our code right here. So if you see that the topmost one, or the root that we have, is of app, which is here, and then within app we have these three card components. Okay, we can see it, and within these card components we have these avatar components, which you can see like this. So if you click on each of them, you'll be able to see whatever props are defined within these components. But in some cases, this React DevTools of Code Sandbox sometimes does not perform well, or maybe it executes some bug inside them. So instead of this, what we'll be using is, we'll be using the basic developer tools that will be provided within the browser of ours. And how to use them? You can head over to Chrome Web Store and look for React developer tools, and you can add this extension in your Chrome. I have already added it. Just you have to click over this button, and if you're using any other browser, let's say Firefox or Opera, so similarly in the case of Opera, there are add-ons. You'll be able to find this React developer tools add-on, and you'll be able to integrate it to your browser. And similarly, there must be some workaround with Opera as well. So if you include it, then you'll be able to see that this particular icon will start appearing right here, and this particular icon will be turning red or blue depending on whether you are using this web page in developer mode or deployment mode. So if you see now, in order to use that, we can head over to inspect, and you can see, yeah, here in components, you'll be able to see that we have this similar component tree of ours, and within this avatar we have no props, but in card we have these props, right, like img, name, and telephone. So using these, we'll be able to easily just at a glance understand whatever props and whatever property we have to use, whether we are some levels up the tree or down the tree. So in order to correct that problem that we had, it was actually because we were trying to tap into the image property, okay, the prop of img, which is not yet defined for this avatar component. As you can see, we don't have any entry of this, and inside this card we were trying to inside this avatar we were trying to access this particular prop of ours. So instead, what we can now do is, where we have declared this avatar component, we can add another attribute img, and we can make it equal to the image URL that is being sent from app.jsx, and it is under the name of img. So using React props, we can mention that props.img, and we'll be using that particular address under this name of img. And once we write this img attribute right here, we'll be able to see that the image is now being displayed as before. So what is happening right here is, within the card we have this img prop, and within avatar we have declared another component of img. So if we move over here in app.jsx, we are passing via React props the image URL inside this attribute img, which is being accessed by the usage of props.img, and then further it is being stored into another attribute of img, which is then being accessed inside avatar.jsx via props.img, and it is being mentioned that okay, the src, the source of this particular image, the image url that we have, is equals to this. So you can see that via the usage of props, we are able to let's say send down one particular data or one particular information right from starting from app down to card down to avatar, and you can do it up to like n number of steps within this particular tree. If you have further components, you can keep sending that data down via the usage of React props. But always remember that one particular component will only be able to read data from its parent component. Like in the previous case, we were not able to read the data from the img attribute of card within avatar. All right. So in order to use that, we had to further declare another attribute of avatar in the level of card. I hope that makes sense to you. Now, if some of you might be wondering that, okay, we are able to see the component tree, but that is only for React, right? I mean, we are only able to see these React components, the app, the card, the avatar. What about all of this code that we have about these HTML elements, right? We have these div, and then we have these h2p tags. What about them? They must also form some sort of elementary, right? HTML elements. They must be also forming some sort of tree. So yes, but currently they are being filtered by this React developer tools, this extension of ours, because in most of the cases we will only be interested in these components, and in order to debug our code, or in order to look for what particular prop or what particular additional attribute that we need to declare in order to access some particular data, or in order to push some particular data down the tree, or in the case we had just now, it is being hidden. But if you wish to see them, you can click over this settings icon and head over to this third tab of components and disable this hide components. Now if you see, you'll be able to see all of these HTML elements along with the React components as well. But you can see that because of them, and even though our this particular app is very small and very minimalistic, even then you can see the amount of clutter that they are making. Okay, so I always prefer, and in most of the cases you will also like to hide them, all of these HTML elements of ours, and be only concerned with the React components of ours. Now if you head over to card.jsx, you'll see that even in the case of these para tags that we have, these are also getting repeated. All right. So the first principle of optimized coding is we are not supposed to rewrite our code. All right. We should aspire to become some sort of these lazy developers who will rather have a template, who will rather go through the pain of writing a particular template beforehand, so that in the future scenarios, if it is being required to, like, if some scenario falls such that you're required to rewrite that particular code n number of times, so it is better to have a template out of them and then just populate the data, which in this case we can achieve it by the usage of React props. So I will not show it. However, if you want, you can take this as a practice, and you can create another component, let's say detail component or info component. Okay, info we already have, so maybe I don't know, whatever you want to name it. You can create another component and then extract this code there, and with the usage of React props, you can use that particular component right here instead of these two para tags. But since we only have two of them, I'm not bothering to create it. So once you create it, you will be able to see that inside this card component of ours, apart from this avatar, we will start seeing yet another component corresponding to these para tags. So that was it, and these are the React developer tools. So you can go around. I'll be sharing this sandbox link. you can mess around with this code and try to just edit, add, delete, and modify this particular code, add components to it, add some elements to it, and try seeing like how that they will be projected right here within this developer tools, this particular screen right here. And you can also just do some sort of practical stuff and see like how you can be, like in this case, let me show you. Let's say we added this img attribute right here, right, like this. So if you want to test this code of yours, you will also be able to like add some attribute like here. Let's say we call it attribute 1, and then even you can provide some property to it. Let's say this is attribute or something like that, and then head over to the source code. You can even on the go, you'll be able to just play around with the code without actually modifying any of this code written in your actual sandbox. Okay, so I hope you were able to understand these React developer tools. I don't think this this particular session was much of a like pain or much difficult, considering the sessions that we have gone through, especially the previous one in which we had discussed what are React props, and we had some practice session associated with it. So from like 1 or 2 sessions onwards, you will be noticing that initially we were traversing through this course. We were traversing through the syllabus or the contents of React in BFS manner. All right, we were exploring the breadth and whatever was included in the knowledge of React first, and now we'll be switching our gear to another level, and we'll be seeing the depth of these particular concepts moving forward. So that will be all from my side for this particular session. I'll see you in the next one.